Hello, all you guys in the back, entrepreneurs. It's Wednesday, it's 9 o'clock, you're at Kauffman Foundation, you know what time it is, it's 1 million cups. I'll wait for everybody to grab their coffee and get their seat. All right, guys, my name is Tyler. I'm one of your community organizers. I have Kyle, I have Caitlin, I have Nicole, and I have Billy, and I have Courtney somewhere in the back. We're your community organizers, and we just want to say thank you so much for coming out. Give yourself a round of applause. Yeah. Raise your hand. I know there's a few first-timers here. Raise your hand if it's your first time here. Oh, yeah, that is great. You know why that's great? We are having a competition with 1MC Fargo all month, and we're wanting to stomp that booty, so thank you. The way this works is we have two presenters get up here for about 6 minutes. They present their business ideas, and then we have our expert panelists kind of ask them some tough questions, and then we're going to open it up to you guys to ask some tough questions. Please make sure you're getting out your phones, downloading the 1 Million Cups app so we can leave some feedback for our presenters. And before we introduce our panelists, do we have a quick video to show? No? I saw that on the... Okay, well, never mind. We're going to go ahead and introduce our expert panelists. If you want to go take it away.
Oh, I'm the expert panelist? Okay.
One.
Hi, I'm Jeff Shackelford, Director for the Digital Sandbox here in Kansas City. Hopefully you've heard of Digital Sandbox. We're a proof of concept program that works with very early stage entrepreneurs to try to help move them from idea to working prototype to raise some money to get in business and create jobs. So we have funded we've seen 500 early stage folks present. We funded 90 of them. 53 now have raised collectively about $38 million and created about 500 jobs in our area. So we'll continue to do that. And I'll try not to ask any really tough questions.
Oh, come on, man.
Hi, I'm Melissa Roberts. I'm your other just-in-time expert panelist. I work at the Enterprise Center in Johnson County. We're a nonprofit organization that runs the area angel network and also educates entrepreneurs on how to seek funding. So in the presentations today, I'll be looking for some of the business questions that are similar to what an angel might ask when you're pitching to them. So.
Thank you so much. All right, guys, get excited. Our first presenter is coming up. We've got John with First File. Please give him a warm round of applause.
I think I'm on. So I think I'm on. Everybody can hear me? So my name is John White. I work with a program and a company called First File. A little bit of background about myself. I worked for the Kansas Department for Aging and Disability Services under the Commission on Aging. My partner and I started a program for the state that was called Operation Red File. That program introduced our files to 18 different counties in the state of Kansas. And we were approached by an individual who said, I'll write some grants for you if you want to do this as a not-for-profit, because we ran into a lot of stumbling blocks when you're working for a state agency. Did you know that each year 911 is called about 200 million times in an emergency? We decided we wanted to try to do something about that. So we started a not-for-profit called First File. Our information's here. So you will know what a file is. I brought a couple with me. A file is just that. First File is a file that you magnetically attach to your refrigerator. You have that available for the first responders when they come into the home. What do I place inside of it? There's one form that goes inside of the file that the person fills out. That form says, this is who I am. These are my emergency contacts, a little bit about my medical history. When you flip that form over, it tells you what else to put in the file. Put in that file your do not resuscitate orders, a copy of your EKG in case your EKG has a normally adverse reading. So when they run that EKG in the ambulance, they can compare that to your regular EKG and make sure that what's going on with you is different than what your EKG normally reads. We also want you to put in there your medication list. so that those first responders have the medication information based on what you're taking, not just what you think you're taking or what they see when you go pull the bottles out and that sort of thing. Also, we ask people to put a recent photograph of themselves. My partner worked for a funeral home, and when she'd call and ask people for a photo of the individual that had deceased, they would get the wedding photo, they'd get the military photo, those photos from 20 years ago. I don't know about most of you guys, I don't look like I looked 20 years ago, so a current photo will help them in the event of an Amber Alert or a Silver Alert, those sorts of things. They can broadcast, this is who we're looking for. So who does it help? It helps anybody that has some information they need the emergency responders to know when the emergency responders come into the home. Do I have Alzheimer's? Am I an autistic child? Do I take this medication? Am I diabetic? Am I pregnant? You know, those sorts of things. All that information they need to know when they get into the home, you can put that in a file in preparation for their coming into your home. So over 20 million people in the United States ride to the hospital in the ambulance each year. If that first file is available, that first file can ride with you in the ambulance to the hospital. So when you get to the hospital, the people at the hospital also have your information. I want to ask you, do you or your loved ones have all of your medical information ready for the first responders? Do you know what your partner, your wife, your spouse, your child, do you have all that information gathered? My partner and her husband don't know which medications they each take, so it's better for them to have that information already printed out for the first responders. If that information is available and ready, as somebody who is a caregiver for a person who may be on the ground, you don't want to spend your time going to find the medications, going to find the DNR, that sort of thing. And as a first responder, you're going to start trying to revive this person or assist that person. Even if they have a DNR, if you can't get access to that DNR, they have to do that. They have to try to save that person's life. I have a DNR, he has a DNR, that sort of thing. They're still going to work on that person until you can provide that paperwork or that documentation. So why not have it right there and available for them? What we do is we go out to communities, whether it be a city, a county, a region, that sort of thing, and we work with community members to put up the money for the files themselves. We ask them to sponsor. You can see here the police chief over at the Prairie Band Potawatomi Tribal Nation in Jackson County, Kansas. He said, I want this for my folks in the tribe, so he put up the money to bring these files. He had open house at his department. They had the Identikid set up over there. They could do fingerprints, put all the information for the kids in there. Folks from the tribe came over, got their files, and we even sat down and helped fill these files out with them while they were there. When we go to an event like a health fair, county fair, car show, you know, those sorts of things, we actually bring a printer. We can take people's pictures on our phone, send it to the printer, and put that picture in the file so they have that. We are in about 10 different counties in the state of Kansas and 1 county in the state of Missouri. As a sponsor, what we can do is help to market your business. On the files themselves, we can put up to 6 different sponsors on here. So if you are a sponsor, you get to be on all the files that go out in that community. Also, you can put your information inside of the file, your brochure, your flyer, those sorts of things. So we can help you as a business market your company on the first files. Right now we're in Kansas. We have gotten into Missouri. We actually have some folks that are helping us through different media get into different areas. We do have a couple of sponsors that are national sponsors, but we're 3.5 months into this project. Part of the problem is we started this program in Kansas as employees of the state, so we're actually competing against a program that we created in the state of Kansas. So in Kansas, they're going to continue with the original program, and we are trying to outpace them because they're using state funding, which is not available, and they're using staff that has other things that they're doing. At First File, this is what we do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's pretty much my presentation.
So just to be clear, you are for-profit?
We are a not-for-profit.
Okay, you're not for profit. Okay, then that explains the $2 one-time charge?
$2 per file is the cost. So the sponsors, if they want to purchase 1,000 files, they're paying $2,000 for the files. When we give these files out to individuals, there's no cost for them. So the way we bring in money is through that sponsorship.
Right, so the sponsorship's designed to pay for
The files.
that $2, right?
Yes.
Have you looked at grant funding of any sorts?
We actually have, we presented at the Governor's Council our other program. We had a gentleman that has a grant writing business. He approached us and said, hey, you know, you should do this in a private setting. I'll write some grants for you. So we actually have a contract with this gentleman now to write grants for us.
Yeah, I'd strongly urge you don't go for grants in the state of Kansas.
Say it again.
I'd strongly urge you don't seek grants in the state of Kansas, as you mentioned.
You're right.
Seems to be a budget issue
Yeah,
on that
there
side.
are plenty of budget issues in the state of Kansas, yes.
I've heard something about that. So I also work for a nonprofit organization, and we also seek sometimes grant funding from generous supporters like the Kauffman Foundation, shameless plug. But what proportion of your organizational budget is from sustainable things like sources of earned revenue and ongoing sustainable commitments versus one-time grant funding?
Well, 3.5 months into this venture, we're still learning those processes. How's that?
And that's a fine answer. One thing that, as somebody who works in nonprofits, I have a bias for is treating nonprofits just like you would any other business.
Right.
The only difference being that you don't take a profit from it.
Right.
So having your financials in order, I think, in the nonprofit world is just as important as in any other business.
Right, and we have reached out to, you know, small business development groups and those sorts of things to help us out with that. Public accountants to help us with the, you know, keeping track of that sort of thing.
And what city are you located in?
We're out of Topeka.
Oh, great.
I
So-
actually live in Lawrence, so there's just 2 of us in our company. So if you want to know how big our company is, there are 2 of us. We do have a couple of volunteers that believe in the program enough that they spend their time helping us out. You know, we've got, I was telling somebody here, one of the people that's on our board, when you get to talking about the 1 million cups, he was the very first 1 million cups presenter in the Lawrence, Kansas 1 million cups venture. Now they're 4 years old over there, I believe. So we've got some people that are assisting us that have some of those backgrounds that we may not have. My background is in human services, so I go out and talk to family members about their loved ones and those sorts of things. I'm not the business side of it, so those are some answers that we're still in the process of working out.
So it looks like you're clearly targeting the aging, I'll throw myself in that category, aged population, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, we came from the Commission on Aging, you know, so that's the population that we were familiar with. But anybody that has a need that needs to be identified for the emergency responders should have this file. We did a kickoff over in one community where a parent came to our kickoff and said they were talking to their teacher. Their child was a special needs kid, and the teacher was saying, well, you know, I have the ambulance come to my classroom once every 3 weeks for one of the kids in the class. We need files like that for our kids in the class. So the parent came and got 30 files for the kids in the class, and they got 30 more files to take home so the parents could fill those out and have those at home for them. You know, we encourage everybody in the household to have their own file, you know, so when you go into the household and there's 4 people in the household, you should have 4 different files so you have their information separate from the other person.
So that was kind of my question for those that, I mean, there's obviously emergencies that happen outside of the home.
Sure.
So like in that school setting, where are those files stored? In the classroom?
In the classroom in that situation.
And you don't get into any HIPAA issues with certain
nothing
data on
in the
that
file
shouldn't be?
that has PHI that were considered a HIPAA violation unless the individual puts that in the file themselves. What goes in the file is personal to that person. We don't keep track of who has the files. We're not asking people for their names and that sort of thing. We're giving them a resource to be prepared for the emergency responders, but we're not asking them for personal health information unless they put that in there. In the workplace setting or the school and those sorts of things, what goes in the file is up to the parent of the child or the individual in the workspace environment, if they have one of these first files on their filing cabinet, you don't have to put your date of birth unless you want to in there. It's not asking you for any social security information. It's not asking for anything like that. What it's asking for in that situation mostly is, who do I contact in an emergency, and what kind of health situations might I as a first responder need to be aware of when I show up and you're on the ground.
There's a number of companies that have a mobile app for that kind of stuff.
And that's part of our long-range plan, is to develop the app with the first file. So we have some folks that work for some companies up here in the Overland Park area that are willing to do the app development for us. We just have not reached that stage yet. But there are a large number of individuals who want that hard copy in the home. There are some groups that are not comfortable with the technology yet. We had one sponsor who was going to give us about $40,000 to start off our program. When he found out we were going to go to the technology side, he said, no, I don't want to do it, and then withdrew that $40,000 worth of funding. So, you kind of go over that hump and go to the next hump, that sort of thing. But we do have technology as one of our long-range goals.
So it seems to me that one part of this piece that's really important is training all of the first responders in the state in which you're active. Can you talk a little bit about the systems that you use to train those people scalably? Because I assume it's not the two of you going out and talking to every single EMT.
Oh, it is the two of us going out, not necessarily talking to every single EMT, but we go out and we do meet with those first response organizations, Fire Chiefs Association, Police Chiefs Association, those sorts of things. We try to get our information out in various conferences. We were at the Kansas Emergency Medical Service Association conference 3 weeks ago. We were at the Kansas Emergency Management Association conference last week. We're at the Department of Labor Health and Safety conference today. My partner, that's where she's at. Yeah, there are the two of us. And we do go out and meet with those folks and try to help them to understand these are going to be showing up in your community in the homes. We have a 20% saturation point target for each area that we go to. So if you're in a city or a county, we look at the 20% number, and that's the goal for what we're going to get. If we can hit that 20%, there's a 1 in 5 chance that that first responder will find a file in that home when they go there. And you can knock off about 9 minutes from the initial arrival of that emergency responder just by having the information available so that they can look at it. So take that 9-minute response time off, it's going to save some lives. We've actually had people come up and say, we've started seeing these in the homes. We've started seeing these show up in the hospitals, in the communities that we've been to. We're very young, we're very new, we're not in very many areas, but as we grow, we hope that people will see these everywhere they go.
So two things. If that's the case, if you were, at the EMT side, why not make the file with the big red cross or something huge on it when I walk? If I see it hanging, I know, because it looks kind of blue, got sponsors on it, not exactly sure.
Yep.
Kind of needs to scream, I got medical information here. Secondly, why not use that? Why not find a way, and I know you had somebody didn't want to deal with tech, but why not find a way, if I'm filling that out,
Yes.
Let me fill it out online.
Right.
Then you condense it down to a note card or two that I can carry with me. And so then I've got the information at home and I've got the information with you. Now you have the challenge, if I'm carrying it with me, that somebody's got to find it, but that's better off. I'm just sitting here thinking, you got all the information once.
Right.
How many different delivery mechanisms can you come up with? And you could even charge probably for that on a very minor basis, but then you convert it and give them a small card. I'm thinking the kids.
Right.
If they've got it with them, that might be better than hoping the teacher filed it somewhere that we can find it and so on and so forth.
A couple of different points that you talked on there. Some people, one person that I talked to there today, they may have an identifier on their wrist that I have this certain information. There are apps on the phone that say, these are my medication, those sorts of things. But only you have access to that unless you give that access to somebody else. We are trying to figure out how to apply this in a vehicle setting so that a person can take the file and put a copy of the file in their vehicle, those sorts of things. We're still trying to grow through those processes and understand that information. working with the homeless population so that we can get them files and that sort of thing to put in their backpack. So we're still trying to figure out all those processes. We don't have all those answers yet.
Thank you, experts. We're going to turn it over to you guys for questions, so please get your hands up. I'll get us started. Can you describe your marketing strategy to us? What all are you doing right now?
Marketing for us is social media. It's word of mouth. It's reaching out, that sort of thing. Since there are only two of us, there's not a whole lot of marketing going on. We are responding to requests and that sort of thing. When one community has that, the next community finds out that that's available. A lot of times that's how we get the help. We try to market folks by doing the media in advance of the events. We're working on some online marketing, attaching website addresses for our sponsors, links to their website, that sort of thing. Social media, using that to promote the events and our sponsors, reaching out to radio, television, news, all those when we go out to do an event. We have October 21st in the Sedgwick County area around the Wichita, Kansas area. The mayor's going to actually have a press conference for our kickoff of First File in the Wichita area. At that time, we'll be able to promote, hey, these are our sponsors and that sort of thing. We're also working on some radio sponsorship with a company that's developing potentially radio designed for our organization, so, and online radio. That answer that question?
Question in the center.
Good morning. Thanks for coming to Million Cups. So great idea in your own home. It's voluntary. It's your information. I would invite you to tread a lot more carefully than you discussed up here with educational institutions. That's a FERPA and HIPAA potential violation with a lot of exposure for educational institutions, especially ones that accept federal funding. That's a prohibited, you can accept that, but a high level of organizational controls for that private health information. And you'd be surprised what is PHI. You just can't exclude your birth date and not make it a PHI. So I'd invite you before you roll out to schools that are subject to FERPA, and if they're not taking federal money, they are subject to HIPAA for health information. So it's a dangerous area, and I'd invite you to get counsel before you start marketing to educational institutions for this.
Thank you very much.
Question in the back.
I like the aspect of some individuals liking the actual hard copy of information. I mean, I like reading the newspaper actually in hand, the magazine, The Atlantic, rather than reading it online. But have you considered expanding into the wearable space? Because I see a lot of people in here who are wearing Apple Watches and whatnot. Because I feel like that would provide an easier access to information than finding for someone's phone because it's right there on their wrist.
Right. So again, getting to that technology side of that is something that we will work on in the future. Again, with the app developers that we're working with, hopefully they'll get us into that market. So it's something we're looking at right now. This is how we've started, but we do have that in our long-range plan.
Do you have an example of on your left, First File in action of a success story?
Other than just what they've reported to us, we were at the Kansas Emergency Management Association meeting. One of the gentlemen that was at that meeting was from Anderson County, Kansas. He worked for the Parks Department in Anderson County, but he was also a volunteer firefighter or EMS. He was one of those that said that we found these in the homes. We've actually seen these show up at the hospitals, that sort of thing. I was at a union label meeting in Wichita, Kansas. There was a gentleman who was asking, you know, how do we get these into our area? Because he had personal experience with someone who had a DNR, but the responders weren't aware of the DNR. They weren't able to produce that, so they caused harm on the person that they were doing the response on because of that person's medical situation, and they actually didn't want to be resuscitated. So yeah, those success stories are the things that we covet right now because we'd like to be able to put up on our website, here's the success stories. We're still in that process.
Another question on your left.
Thanks for presenting this morning. Another question related to the last one. Even a non-tech wearable, you remember the bracelets that people would have if they had diabetes or whatever else? Can that apply here as well?
I believe so. I'm not sure how that would link up to the file and the bracelet itself. I'm not the tech person, so I wouldn't know that response. But I'm sure I've seen people that have that. And somebody mentioned to me if they had a code that they could somehow press the button on their watch to get the code for their First File app on their phone. Would that work? So you punch in the code, you could pull up the First File app, and then are the responders able to access that way? Do we look at an app that has an outside of the locking mechanism so they can just type in their emergency response code and open your First File on your phone? You know, those sorts of things. We still have a lot of things to figure out, and I'm not that tech person, so I couldn't answer a lot of those questions for you.
Question in the back on your left.
My question revolves around the use of the paper, and inevitably that information could become out of date.
Right.
So what percentage or how often do you feel that that information needs to be updated? How do you go about updating it? And then if it isn't updated, could that become a problem?
Yes, it could become a problem if it's not updated. We advocate that people update that as often as possible. On our website currently, we have the actual form that you can download and fill out. We're working on getting that as a fillable form so you can just fill that out online and put that in your file and replace that. You should replace that anytime you have a change that the responders should know about. There are other programs out there, you've heard of them, the File of Life, the Vial of Life, the Yellow Dot program. There are several programs that are out there that do this same thing. The problem is, in those instances, once you get a File of Life and you fill it out, you think you're done. When you show up in 2017, you pull out that File of Life that's on the refrigerator, it still has 2012 information on it. Your emergency contacts have moved, your doctors changed, your medications have changed. So part of our goal is to work with those organizations that help us to update that information. One of our sponsors, for instance, is a long-term care facility owner. They actually give these out at discharge from their facilities with the information from their most recent health situation in this file. Take it home, put it on your refrigerator, that sort of thing.
Question on your left.
Really not a question, but it's a comment. If you do go to technology, which we all are enthused about, do keep the paper. I have an experience. I was in a bad motorcycle accident, and my iPhone was crushed in that accident, so it was useless to the responders. I have a road ID, so I have the wrist thing, so my contact and emergency information was available to them. So we rely on the technology a lot, as you know. I think in accident stations, in a lot of situations, or if the battery's dead or something, it's useless.
Yeah.
One more question on your left.
Hey, great job talking today, and thanks so much for being here. I know it's always difficult to put everything out there. As I'm sitting here listening to you talk and some of the comments that are going on, whether it's through HIPAA violations or technology awareness, just being two of you, it seems like there's an opportunity to utilize some of the technology that's out there already, like with medical ID, with Apple devices. I mean, that's an amazing thing. I really wouldn't encourage you to go the technology route because you're never going to compete well in that arena.
Right.
And then dealing with some of the HIPAA violations, I feel like you could do really well being an advocate. And I feel like a lot of hospitals and major organizations would think that you going out and talking to people would receive just as much funds for your organization and the support by saying, I don't know how many people in this room have signed up for their medical ID on their phone or on their watches here, but I haven't. And I feel like, you know, just knowing that and having that conversation is more important than whatever color your file is. Get rid of the file. Have someone else figure out the file system. You know, but your advocacy, I feel like, is really, really important.
Thank you. Yeah, we agree. You know, I said that's part of a problem. We're competing against a program that we created, that sort of thing. We don't care what color the file is. If it's red, blue, yellow, green, doesn't matter where you get the information, off your phone, off your wrist, off your refrigerator, as long as the information is available for the first responders. So I understand exactly what you're saying, and I appreciate that. I just haven't learned how to make money doing that yet.
All right, last question. What can we as a community do for you?
Well, you've already helped. Of course, getting the word out about our program is the way that we're looking for assistance. I've got business cards. If you know of people who would help us to develop those technologies and that sort of thing, we would definitely love to have those people give us some consultation and that sort of thing. And lastly, what it says up here, if you know that First File is going to be coming to a community near you, we're going to be at the Overland Park Expo, Game Plan Expo, 6th, 7th, and 8th of this month. First File will be one of the vendors at that. Come by, get a file for yourself. If you have a loved one in this area that needs a file, get that file, just so that if that emergency responder shows up in the home, your information's available in case you're unconscious on the floor. And that's how you can help.
All right, let's give John a round of applause. So if you didn't get to ask your question, feel free to find John after, and you can ask him all the questions you want. It's time for Mug Club. So how many people have been here 10 times or more to 1 Million Cups? Okay, and how many people have never received a mug? All right, Kyle's gonna find somebody.
Thank you for joining us. Can you tell us your name and why you come to 1 Million Cups?
My name is Gooch, and I find it's easier to judge than be judged. So as I come here and listen to the, I guess I'm human. As I listen to the presentations and I think of, or I hear other people bring up potential weaknesses or vulnerabilities, it causes me to reflect on my own business and how I operate and think, have I shored those things up? And am I looking in my own backyard to strengthen up the same way? So thanks to everybody who's taught me a lot throughout the past year.
All right, thanks so much. Thanks for being here. So who likes lemonade? Everybody likes lemonade. I'm just going to assume that. Next week, you should come. Ruby Jean's Juicery is going to be here, and the first 200 people that arrive receive free lemonade. So get up early. Also, I don't know if you know this, but we just released the Caffeinators. It's this new program to kind of help people get connected and network. Can you raise your hand if you're a caffeinator? All right, so just look around at these folks. They're more than happy to talk to you, answer questions, and help you out with anything you may need. So next, our presenter is going to be Mike. He's with Eco Adventure Zip Lines. He's going to tell us a little bit about that. Thanks.
Everybody hear me okay? All right, thank you guys for having me today. I wanted to share a little bit about my business, Eco Adventure Zip Lines. I have a new facility near Hermann, Missouri. We are the largest zip line facility in mid-Missouri. We have over 10 zip lines spanning over a mile, our largest being over 250 feet high. You're able to zip above the treetops. I was sharing some of the 360 footage that we've shot at our facility with some of you guys. I also have a virtual reality headset. I'd be happy to share more after the speech today. I just wanted to share a little bit about what makes our facility so special. There's a lot of zipline facilities that have popped up. I've been in the industry since 2010 and have a 100% safety record, which I'll go into more about why we're able to keep that safety record with some proprietary technology that I've been able to develop. And I take safety as our top priority. Having fun on a zip line is important, but you want to know that you're safe. We have a beautiful facility built to the highest standards, and as I mentioned, spanning over a mile, you're able to get beautiful views and knowing that you're going to be safe the entire time zipping with us. Which takes me to the next issue that I've identified in the industry is that the industry is growing so fast, and in doing so, there's been a lot of incidents that have occurred. So when I had ziplined for the first time, I used to live out in Hawaii, ziplined at the first zipline facility in the United States. They're located in Maui, and since 2004, it's grown tremendously. So now there's over 400 zip lines in the US, over 1,000 internationally, which has led to more accidents and injuries. Most people want to differentiate their zipline facility by having bigger, higher, faster zip lines. With faster zip lines can increase the opportunity for accidents. And these facilities are being run by inexperienced operators. As I mentioned, I've been in the industry since 2010, so I have a lot of experience, but when I started in 2010, it was a very new industry and I was learning as I was going. So this system that I've developed, which I call ZipSafe, is a zipline safety system that I hope can standardize the safe landing procedures at zipline facilities. So we have 10 zip lines at Eco Adventure Zip Lines, handling approximately 50 riders a day, which is about 500 safe landings at our facility each day. So since we've been testing this since 2013, we have over 100,000 safe landings, 100% safety record. What makes this technology interesting, we not only have a proprietary braking material, but we've integrated 360 technology into this, so I can share that virtual reality look through a headset with you. So it's fun to see after the fact, but it's a way for facilitators such as myself to protect themselves so that they know their guides out there are doing the right procedures as they're braking, and that the guests are doing the right procedures. Everything is in the industry can differ from one zip line to another. Some require you to grab the zip line. I was sharing a little bit about our course with others, and they were sharing about their zip line experiences. There's two primary ways to do braking as you're ziplining. One, this top row, is what's called impact braking, meaning you're coming in, you're hitting something at high speeds, it's going to stop you, but it's not going to feel comfortable. The bottom row here is an active braking system, which it's almost funny, it's okay to laugh, but it's an inferior braking system that requires you to reach up and grab over the zip line. Some people don't have shoulder mobility. Some people, being ziplining for the first time, are scared to grab on a mechanism above a zip line or onto the zip line itself with a leather pad on your glove. So I brought that here to pass around this amazing technology, a big leather pad on your glove that some zipline courses require you to grab to be able to stop before you hit the tree. So with our zipline safety system, we're looking at competing with springs and different mechanisms. So with our ZipSafe system, we are currently patent pending. We're getting positive feedback from the zipliners at our facility, zipline builders that are working across the country, and the experts in the industry. At the Missouri Innovation Competition last year, I took third place overall, an award winner for this technology, and had a great response from the audience. But seeing people using it and landing for the first time after they've zipped at a lot of other places, and their first experience is, this is the best safety system we used. It's easy, it's smooth. So what we've done since that win is we've had it fit with more tandem speed pulleys in the industry so that we're able to work with other manufacturers and have this compatible with a wide range of pulley systems. So with over 400 of them in the US, over 1,100 of them nationwide, the industry is growing very fast. We want to make sure that our system can be easily integrated into existing technology. We're not asking them to overhaul their entire facility, but to integrate our safety system to keep their guests safe. So the benefits of this is not only that the safety aspect, you have to be safe to stay in business, but that you can generate a new revenue stream, that you're able to sell 360 videos, it can mount with GoPros, you're able to get an interesting view from above the zip line that you can't get even while riding. But you can share that experience with friends and family after the fact. You can look down at yourself, see those reactions, and be able to document something that's beautiful. If you missed a view one direction or another, you can watch that in 360 and see birds flying under you, over you, looking at people maybe standing under you as you zipped high above of them as they zipped over. So we're looking to get this into the industry. We're speaking with insurance companies on trying to have a standardized practice, builders, different safety associations, and looking to potentially license this technology. So this system is something that we want to get out into the public. We're going to be running an Indiegogo campaign. We would love for people to sign up. I have a little sign-up sheet, some discount cards for you to come out and experience it for yourself. So I'd be happy to answer some questions, and most importantly, I want you guys to experience it for yourself. So please come and see us, and thank you for having me today. This is a little YouTube link that if you guys have the YouTube app on your phone, you can actually take that 360 virtual reality experience while you're sitting here asking questions and experience it for yourself. So thank you very much.
Great, thanks. Great presentation. Where's the first file guy? Because I would get to all those zipline places that require me to hold on and get that form filled out before they go. Secondly, give me the backstory. You were in Hawaii,
Yes.
first zip line. What the heck made you come back here?
So cost of living. So believe it or not, the Midwest is a little cheaper to live than in Hawaii. So my wife is from Hawaii. We're able to go back a lot. But I had moved out there, so I like designing products. I had invented a new type of cold pack, moved out there for the climate and for everything else in Hawaii, which is beautiful, and went to school out there, studied entrepreneurship when entrepreneurship was not a subject that most colleges taught. So I designed my own major, was very interested in this, so I was studying engineering, invented that cold pack, moved out there, was able to win an invention competition out there, and after the terrorism attacks and things like that, made it a lot harder to get the materials I needed for my product. So that kind of went by the wayside, but I just, on a weekend, went out, ziplined for fun, experienced something that I only saw in movies. I loved it so much, and I thought this would be a great way to bring this back to the Midwest, get people outdoors. There's a million things you can do in Hawaii, but not enough to get people in nature with their friends and family, out of cell service, so you're disconnected a little bit and able to reconnect with family. It's just a beautiful thing that we're able to use zip lines as a way to bring that happiness to people. That's just our medium. We have great guides, and we love what we do, and it really comes through.
So where are you with the IP protection on this thing? I know you said you filed provisional, but...
Provisional, and looking to work with, so I've spoken to different patent attorneys, and really it's the capital right now to be able to take that to a utility patent, but working through that process. So that would be
Have
one.
you done the prior search to make sure there's nothing out there?
I have. There's other technologies out there that would require kind of like brakes on a bicycle, or different materials, different braking mechanisms that would require you to grab up above. But there's nothing like what we're doing right now, and we're using proprietary materials that make that braking system very, very smooth, and we've had great feedback from everyone that's used it.
So what's the cost? I mean, you manufactured a few already, right?
I have a manufacturer in St. Louis, so a local manufacturer, American-made. So the cost of the product, a finished product, we're around $65 at very low quantities. We can bring those costs down substantially. We're working with one of the pulley manufacturers that in quantity orders, we can bring those pulleys down. The VR camera, we've been able to get lower pricing on those around that $65 to $75 range. So it can be a very affordable product with a lot of add-ons, but primarily for the brake system itself, looking at a selling price of around $175 to $200, which is very competitive with a lot of other systems out there that don't work nearly as well.
So, I weirdly have gone ziplining like 3 times in the last week. This is the only time in my life I could say this. I just got back from a cruise. Yeah, seriously. So I'll talk to the form guy in a minute. But ziplining, while it's a growing industry, is still kind of a niche. So can you talk to me about the size of that market as a whole in terms of, an investor looking at it as they would be looking at returns?
Sure. So as I mentioned, there's over 400 of them in the U.S., and this isn't something that just goes on you buy one brake and that's it. This is equipped on every harness system, so every harness that you would have would be equipped with this. Most are going to have 50 to 100 harnesses, so each one would be equipped with that. So the return on investment is good, especially when we can get at economies of scale, bring down the production costs. And with the growth of the industry, and as many as there are right now, there's a huge opportunity to get this is a standardized practice as opposed to grabbing on the zip line or things like that. So the return on that could be very good if we can get that market traction, and in doing so, trying to get the insurance companies on board, trying to get the builders on board, and the safety associations. When you're seeing there's a better system in place, it's hard to say we're going to have you grab on to the cable or hit some type of mechanism. When in your experience in ziplining, did you have anything where you were grabbing on the zip line or hitting an impact?
We had a spring braking system.
Okay, so you're coming in and hitting the spring at the end, okay. So this is able to allow you to decelerate, so it's a very smooth landing, no crash, into a spring or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, just one word of advice when you're talking about the market, if you can do the math and find a big number, so 10 million or 50 million or something like that.
Yeah, it just as a number, looking at about 7.5 million if we're selling at that price point we're looking at, and with as many courses that this could be compatible with their equipment. So it's really about getting that market traction and having that opportunity. And that's without even taking into account private zip lines that are growing very fast as well.
So just curious, did your first design include the spot to hold the GoPro?
It did actually, because that was something I thought would be very important, because as you can see, there's 2 GoPro mounts. That was before the 360 technology, and I just thought if we could shoot different vantage points and different angles and things like that would be really neat. We're milling this, so that little feature on there is very easy to do, so that was one of the first things. But we have redesigned it throughout the process, so it's undergone a lot of different changes. So as we've went through, we've have deeper carabiner holders back here where you're actually pulling down on the line to be able to have it resting in there. So a lot of improvements that we've made throughout this process.
All right, we're going to open it up to audience questions. I'm going to start here in the middle.
Hi, Mike. Great presentation. Really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of thoughts. One, you really are marketing 2 things. One, doing Zipline at your store.
Yes.
Number 2 is this safe Zipline product.
Yes.
So the first thing I would suggest is on your website, say #1 rated safety in America or whatever, and I'm sure you've got tests to prove that, correct?
Yeah, we've
Somebody
been testing this
studied
since
it.
2013, 100% safety record, yeah.
Perfect.
So,
yeah,
yep.
I would really, say that. And then a moment ago, when you just mentioned GoPro, so have you talked with the GoPro people?
I haven't went that route for as far as a mount for GoPro. They have a million different mounts that can attach to a lot of things, but I haven't went for the GoPro side. I've been looking at licensing the technology to the Zipline equipment manufacturers that we can integrate the technology into, as opposed to being just an add-on product that if they have a safety system that's built into their equipment would make things a lot better on their end. So I'm in that process right now, and if anybody has experience with licensing and would like to talk to me after, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Another question here in the center.
Hi, I had a couple quick questions. The first one, for example, like I myself am an adrenaline junkie, but I'm also, I don't want to die. So for when I, am going skydiving or anything like that, I always pay a lot of attention to the safety elements. What type of marketing are you doing direct to the consumer to make them aware to even be looking for this when they're trying to find a place to zip line?
So we're doing a lot of AdWords and things like that, but we're promoting, how great our facility is and how large it is and our location. So we do touch on, and I have another website, ziplinesafety.com, that we link back and forth to. But it's one of those things that we are not pushing that we're the best because of this. This is one more feature that makes it where if you come to see us, we're going to take great care of you and keep you safe. But this is something that as we're transitioning to this and getting it in the marketplace, that is going to be a main selling feature.
And then the other quick question I had was, have you considered the international market at all? Like, for example, Costa Rica is huge for zip lining. Has that been something you've been considering?
Absolutely, because the market's about 3 times as large as the US. I'd like to get market traction here where the safety associations have a greater impact and people are wanting to regulate. So I would like to have that traction, and then it would be something that people say, I've ziplined in America, I don't want to now have to go to a foreign country and grab on a zip line. That doesn't seem safe to me, but if you integrate this technology, you'll have more demand. And as a result, we would be able to promote those courses with that 360 technology, that these are the courses utilizing this ZipSafe brake system.
Another question in the center.
Great product. It seems like it would revolutionize the zipline industry. Have you started, or will you eventually be thinking about how it could apply to other industries like the safety industry, Coast Guard, jumping out of helicopters, making rescues?
Yes, and I get that question a lot. So how that's going to integrate into different industries. So with our technology, it's more designed to a zipline system that has point A to point B, as opposed to a descent mechanism of rappelling from a helicopter or something like that, just because those mechanisms are already in place, that this isn't as applicable. So for the zipline industry, it's exactly what we're looking for, and we're looking at focusing more on the industry of ziplining and other features and products that we can roll out. But we're not ruling out anything. Anytime you have an invention and a product that can help people and keep people safe, there's other opportunities and applications.
Question on your left.
Awesome story, great product. I think what would be really cool to hear is like your iterations of product development.
Sure.
So a lot of people see the end product and they go like, oh yeah, that's cool. But I mean, how did you create it? Did you go out to your garage and start, milling? And then how did you test it? I mean, obviously there's a little bit of risk in testing. Can you talk about that process and some of the failures and things that didn't work?
Sure. So just all the different design changes throughout the process. So when we originally started, we weren't planning on a notch that would rest that carabiner in there. I wanted a system that would not require you to grab on the zip line, but until I had done that process, it was requiring you to reach up and grab over the zip line as other systems required you to do. You weren't touching the zip line, so it was safer, but I didn't like that, so we went to this notch here to rest the carabiner. The design has changed a lot. The materials that we're using, we've done a lot of testing of materials, different rubbers that as soon as you would pull down, you'd come to a screeching halt. People that would brake before they were supposed to would come up short because they did a brake and it was too fast. So we wanted something to decelerate the rider as opposed to immediately stopping them. So a lot of changes in materials testing and finding a proprietary material that would allow them to glide and decelerate as they're gliding. So it makes for a safer, smoother landing, which everybody's looking for in the industry. So it's undergone so many changes and other things. So working with a local company, and that's why I wanted an American-made product that as we needed changes done, they could help us with that as opposed to an international company that would be starting from scratch over and over again. So I've been very happy with the American-made product that we have here.
Did you use the dog to test this thing?
As I'm the dog, so as we were zipping, I was the one out there.
Oh, dog on the website.
Yeah, so that's
all harnessed up. So
yeah, he was.
I'm trying to figure out how you get his paw to grab that thing.
Yeah, he doesn't want to work the brake too well. But so years ago, he used to run the zip line with me at my old facility, and so as a result, he'd get tired out. He's a little pug, if you saw our website there, but he'd run up and down the hillsides, and then we'd clip in, ride together, and so it's something that I love what I do. I can be outside. Now I have my son who is about 11 months, and we're going to be going out ziplining here soon. So it's something that I want to be able to share with everybody, and I just to be able to share something with my son and have him at the zip line every day between tours. I just feel very fortunate, and to be able to sustain this business, anytime somebody gets hurt on a zip line, you're going to hear about it. It makes national news, and so we want to keep the industry safe because I love what I do. I don't want to see it go by the wayside because people aren't taking the right precautions. Something like this can easily integrate into existing zip line courses with no downtime and keep people safe, and it's really going to be getting it into the hands of the different facilities, but having that groundswell of people saying, I want the safest products out there, and trying to educate the consumers.
Question on the left.
Hi, really enjoyed your presentation. Looks like it's a great product. Obviously, your industry is big, fun, sexy, exciting. I just wanted to say your website is a little underwhelming in that regard.
Okay.
So, if
It was
I was
designed by myself, first time web designer with WordPress, so anybody else out there that would like to help out with that, I would love to talk with you about that.
So everybody took everything positive I had to say already, so I figured I'd give you that little feedback.
Okay, fair enough.
Question up front.
How you doing?
Good, how you?
All right. So for someone like myself, I mean, there's so many different accessible things like this. Not ziplining. I've never heard of being able to go ziplining, but I'm curious, especially with your safety rate, and I feel like I can put my life in your hands. So are you guys accessible? I mean, have you thought about it? Have you kind of worked with someone that is in a wheelchair? I don't know if I have to go up top, like how's the process?
Sure.
Because I'm interested and I like taking challenges, and if I can jump off a plane, I want to be hanging off above some trees. So,
Sure.
What's the deal with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually this weekend, so in the years prior, so I've been able to host people, amputees, blind, deaf, a wide range of what can be considered limitations. And what's cool is we can free people from those limitations. I have a lady coming out on Saturday that I'm doing a private tour for her. She has very severe arthritis and isn't able to go up the stairs. So we've been able to accommodate someone to be able to help her up the stairs. She's going to tandem ride with me so she can get that experience. She's going in for surgery, and it's something that I can do to kind of check something off her bucket list before she goes in and has, some a surgery that, can be very scary going into it. So it's really pushing her limitations. So if you talk to me after, like I said, I want to be able to accommodate everybody. It's not something that we are compliant because there's stairs, but if I can help you, that's what I want to do. I'm trying to use my facility for good, try and help people, get you out there and just do something you would love. So just talk to me after if you would. All right.
Question in the center.
So you talked about that you've done over 100,000 runs with this, and with all of the moving and friction, how long do you find that these last?
So we've went through different materials throughout the testing process. So with ours, we're looking at about a season on these brake pads. So as you see, there's a brake pad in the front and back, and then you can also swap it because it wears at an angle of the way it's adding friction. You can then swap it over and then have it adding friction to the other side, which isn't worn. But that's part of the continuous sale to the consumers. As they're ziplining, just like a razor, you're selling the handle, and it's going to be the brake pads that are continuing to generate revenue. But every course is going to be a little different with as many riders as they have go through, but potentially a half a season to a season or so.
Another question in the center?
Good morning. Thank you for the presentation. It's a fascinating product. Looking at the pictures you have up there, this is still, the braking system is rider activated, is that right?
It is, yep.
Okay, so have you looked at making that technology or figuring out a way that it's triggered by something on the line so that a rider doesn't have to be the one required to pull that? I mean, what if, for example, you talked about the person grabbing on with the glove. If you've got somebody that, say panics or whatnot, if they don't activate that brake, what happens to slow them down?
Sure. So we always have a guy there catching at the other side, and we're giving plenty of distance to be able to slow them down. But as you mentioned, as they're zipping across, something that would trigger and activate that braking, we're working on right now. So there's an engineer in Columbia that we've been having discussions with, and part of our patent as we're filing it is some ideas that we have for certain markers that you would have on the trees that would then trigger if they haven't engaged the brake by then, it would engage that brake for them.
Question in the back?
Yeah, throughout this presentation, I've gotten more enthused about trying a zip line. I've never done it before. I'm not a adrenaline junkie, but I'd like to give it a try, and your system sounds safe. So just some feedback. Where are you located in Herman?
So we're actually right off I-70, so not quite into Herman, so really easy. A lot of people that come out and see us might not even go down to Herman, but if you've ever been to that area, there's a lot of rolling hills, so that's what makes our course so unique. You don't have to climb up 100 or 200 stairs as some facilities require. You're only going up a few stairs and using the natural lay of the land. As the ground drops out, that's how we get our elevation. So we take off 15 feet above the ground, and in the middle there, you're over 250 feet above
So
the ground.
you're north of the river there.
We are, yes, sir. So, yep, right as it's running down. So we're actually at a very high point where we're located, and then everything runs all the way down to the river for the next 12 miles. So.
And I also wanted to ask you, what do you think of this presentation here today? Has it met your expectations? Were you just wanting to get some practice? Did you get some questions you didn't expect?
So I've been presenting in St. Louis, Columbia, and now here. This is someplace I've always wanted to present, being here at the Kauffman Foundation, and I'm honored to be here with such a great audience. So you guys are the largest audience I've presented to. And as I've been going through this, I've heard a lot of great feedback. So throughout this process, it's helped me refine the name of the product, different features, and so as we've been going through, the questions that I've gotten today are fantastic, and how I can improve the website, how I can improve our marketing. So a lot of things, it really will help me improve. And to your first question, yes, come out and see us. Autumn is the most beautiful time to zip line. You're above the treetops, so this is a great time to be out. We would love for you guys to come and see us. I have discount cards for everybody that would be interested, and would be happy to share that 360 view with you and kind of give you that experience before you come out and see us, so please do.
Do you do some joint marketing with Herman? Go to the wineries, get a little relaxed, come
The
over
other
and
way
zip
around.
line?
Come out and zip line, get your heart racing, and then go and have a bottle of wine and talk about what you had
Well,
done.
I was thinking for Neil, it might be best to hit the wineries and then get relaxed.
So yeah, that's one thing that we always catch you on the way in or the way out of Herman. So we're right off the highway, so really easy to get to. Come out and see us, zip line, go down to Herman, great B&Bs, great places to eat, have some wine, or stay at a B&B on your way back home, come out and zip line with us, and it's just a nice way to start or finish any trip to that area. So being right off the highway, a lot of people just stop in as they're passing through from St. Louis to KC, so no reason to not stop by. We're right there, very easy to find.
This is the final question. Are you good? Do you have a microphone? No, go ahead, wrap it up. All right, sorry, we got to wrap it up. We're out of time. But I think you already answered it, but what can we as a community do for you?
So we are going to be launching a crowdfunding campaign to get really to secure our IP, to get our marketing, to build inventory. So I have a sign-up sheet that if anybody would like to be part of that, I would love for you guys to just share with your network what I had shared with you today. We want you to come out and experience the zip line for yourself, to experience the break, to have that hands-on process, and to really just come out and see us. We want to be part of the community. I'm very honored to be here. It's not a far drive. If you guys are heading through that area, we're worth the stopover. So come out and see us. If you guys have experience in web design, IP, licensing, anything like that, I'm basically a one-man show when it comes to this. I'm running the zip line. My wife and I are running that with a great team. But this is something that I'm trying to develop, so it's taking a lot of time and trying to build a team of people that would be interested in this product. I would love to be able to work with you, so talk to me afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you.
You guys.
All right, that wraps it up for this week. Like Nicole said, join us next week, and the first 200 people will get Ruby Jean's lemonade. And today's count was 175, so a little higher than last week, but the maximum is 493 in this room. So we have a ways to go. See you next week.